The first thing that you will notice when you come to my place is probably the balcony garden. I have to say that my balcony has brought so much life to my home that without it, it would have felt quite stale. And my plants have made the balcony more inviting to spend time in. And that's why we have this outdoor dining space where we have meals and sometimes drinks and even barbecue out there. We didn't plan on this space looking like how it is today actually in the beginning. This space just evolves naturally. When we first moved in, our balcony was just empty. And then I brought my plants from my old place. And because I wanted more impact, I added more plants. And then more. And of course, my plants grew bigger as well. And that's how we got to how it looked today. Just go with the flow. I do spend quite a lot of time in that balcony because I really want them to thrive and not having to keep buying new plants. But this gardening journey isn't exactly smooth sailing. It has a lot of adventures, ups and downs, and of course, some stories to share. You see this big tree next to me? It is the biggest plant in my garden now, and also my boldest, most dramatic purchase to date. Let me tell you the story. I found it at a plant store that was closing down. It had been kept indoors under grow lights for a while, I think, and looked a little underdeveloped. We had an instant connection, and I decided to bring it home. Well, not without an adventure. First, I needed help freeing it from its root-bound pot and repot into a bigger one. And then I needed more help to transport it back to my place, up to my balcony. And finally, I have to reorganize on the spot a section of my garden to make space for it. And there it is, looking snug and comfortable in my balcony garden. 1 year later, it has grown about 4 or 5 feet taller, and its leaves are so much fuller now. It's so satisfying to see this. But then, one stormy night, super strong winds hit, and this giant toppled over. Well, luckily, it didn't get hurt, and neither did anything around it. So we could just straighten it up and even took the opportunity to reposition it. And it has been growing happily ever since this mishap. Speaking of toppling, this 8-year-old rubber tree that is my fastest growing plant that has doubled in size in just a year after moving here also had its own incident last year. When we were moving 2+ years ago, I almost wanted to give this plant away because at that time it was not doing well, it was sick and infested with scale. But eventually I decided to give it another chance. So we changed its soil and repotted it and left it at a position where it is now, and it started thriving. Well, a little too much actually, because it actually outgrew its pot after just a year and then leaned on one side and eventually completely lost its balance on a not so windy day. So I went shopping for a much bigger and heavier ceramic pot, and I even had to hire help to repot it because it was just too tall and too big for me to handle by myself. Since then, it's been growing beautifully. Well, it's currently dealing with some pest issues, which I'm trying to solve now. I got this Bougainvillea a few months after we moved in, and they were just 2 tiny plants of 2 colors. As usual, I repotted them, And it looked like they quite like the soil mix that I had for them and also the spot where I positioned them, because 3 months later, it shot up quite a bit and needed trellis support. And then 2 months after that, as the sun hit my balcony, it started growing like crazy. I had to give it extra trellis support and guides to keep up with its growth. And then 1 year later, it outgrew its old trellis again. So I had to upgrade that again. Recently, I switched to a flowering fertilizer, and the results have been amazing. Look at these flowers. I can't wait to see how they would look like next year. This Anthurium has come a long way. It's one of those successful rescue stories, I would say. I found it sitting in the corner of a lifestyle store, not getting a lot of attention and not getting a lot of sun. So its leaves look a little thin and small. But I felt a connection with it, and so I brought it home. And then I went to get a new pot for it, repotted it, and gave it some much needed TLC. And a month later, it rewarded me with its first new leaf. After moving to my balcony, I mean. And after that, it has been growing new leaves that are thick and big. And recently, it even flowers frequently. It's so satisfying to see how this Anthurium has grown. Some of you might remember this umbrella plant that was featured in another video. I made an ultra-loamy soil mix at that time, thinking it needed excellent drainage to avoid root rot. But I was wrong. A few months later, I realized it wasn't growing much. And it turns out that the soil mix that I made was too well draining. So I had to replace some of the old soil with a mix that retains water better. And actually that worked. It started growing rapidly, branching out and stretching towards the sun. But then it slowed down again when the weather got hotter. Overall, I have to say, this plant is quite fussy. This weeping fig is one of my proudest achievements. In its first year, it had way fewer leaves, and it would shed so easily. I really didn't know what to do with it. Well, after a lot of trial and error and researching, I learned that this tree is actually quite a heavy feeder. So I started applying liquid fertilizer every 7 to 10 days, and also slow release fertilizer. And look at it now, a glamorous tree with dense and healthy leaves. It's really amazing to see how some of my plants have grown over the past 2 years.
See, they have the orange.
Recently, a friend influenced me to try my luck with flowering plants. So I added hydrangea, bamboo orchid, gardenia, and osmanthus tree to my garden. But my balcony only gets direct sunlight for 6 months a year, so I'm really not sure how these plants will pull through in my balcony. But let's see. Fingers crossed.